So UK inflation has just fallen last month, and have we, or did we, just beat the recession, the oncoming recession? Because the main thing behind the recession has been the inflationary forces going on. So are we beating it, or is it all what it seems? So in this video, I'm going to discuss with you a little bit around what's going on with the inflation, and is it really, have we beat it already or not? I'm also going to discuss with you how you can use property, and I'll show you a real case example, so make sure you stay around to the end, because we'll show you a real case example of a property I bought 10 years and how it's beat inflation by about 450%. I think it's 450%. I'll show you the figures at the end. You can tell me if I've calculated that correctly. But either way, it's beat inflation by tens of thousands of pounds. And it's just an average low performing property, not even one of the higher ones. So stay around, I'll show you how you can beat that, show you a case example of that. But the first thing you can beat down for me right now is that like button, if you don't mind. Really helps algorithms out and really helps my ego. So as you can see from the chart, inflation's had a dip, but it's been going really upwards. So according to this article from The Guardian, it says UK inflation, and obviously this information's out, it's not just according to them, but I read this in the article in The Guardian, should I say. UK inflation falls 9.9% after petrol prices drop. This is the reason behind this is because the wholesale prices of petrol have gone down, and now we're seeing that at the pumps. But are we seeing the full amount of the drop at the pumps, or are people really getting ripped off? Because look, also in The Guardian, it says UK prices fall in line with wholesale costs, but drivers pay nearly £9 more per tank per fuel than they should do, according to data. So even though the wholesale prices have dropped, the price hasn't been passed on to us as consumer. And again, I think as a government should be stepping in when we've got a cost of living crisis to help in any direction with this and stop companies over earning. I don't want companies not to earn. I'm not against companies earning money, but squeezing money out in times like this, I feel, is a little unethical of large companies. And as I said, I feel the government should step in. Look, we've got a new PM. I've done a video about the new PM here, so you can watch that. Don't panic. If you want to watch the suggested videos, they're in the description, so you can watch this now and catch up on them later. But I've done a video on the new PM and some of the policies for property. But what is she doing about the energy and the cost of living crisis? So she's already come out as well and made her first major move. So according to CNBC, they reported that Trust announced a new energy price guarantee, and it's in a leadership role. This is her first major move, and she has said the typical household will pay no more than £2,500 per year. That is a saving of around £1,000 per year of what it could have been if she hadn't put this cap on. So this also is going to help bring back inflation, but there is other inflationary things going on alongside the fuel and the cost of living like that. So we've got milk, cheese and eggs and the stuff that goes into our actual baskets. They're massively pushing up at the moment, and they're on a 14-year high. And you can watch a video more in depth about the cost of living and what other European countries are doing about this in comparison to England. If you think Theresa May's done enough, put in the comments. Do you think she could do more? I have done a video that shows you what other European countries have done, and as I said, you can watch that there, and it'll be in your description below. But the real question is, what does this mean for your buying power? So how does this affect us in real time? So have a look at this chart. This chart is from moneyfacts.co.uk, and you can see on here the interest rate. So as the base rate's going up, so one of the big things at the moment to curb inflation, the Bank of England are raising base rates, and you can see the effects it's having on your savings. But look, if you look over these savings, you're getting a rate. Barclays is giving you 0.2%. The best rate I can see on here is 1.4%, and that's from Coventry Building Society. But if you had 10k in the bank, and I'm going to show you an example of what I've done with 10k as well, so make sure you hang around. But if you've got 10k in property, and so what I've done with 10k in property, let's spit it out. So if you had 10k in savings, you're going to get around per year in interest around £166 per year. That's on your 10k. But then if you take inflation in real time, how this is working. So over the last 10 years, you'd have had, on this rate, so bearing in mind this is a better rate than we've had over the last 10 years. Over the last 10 years, we've had more of a rate like 0.2% on your savings or 0.1%. But let's base it on the 0.2% over the last 10 years. You would have had around £45 per year on 10k in the bank. So let's have a look. It's a useful little calculator by officialdata.org, and you can put in the figures on this. So if we put in the year 2000, and if we put in the year here 2012 up until 2022, and if we put in 10k, this will tell us a calculation of what this has been. So the value of 10k in 2012 to today is 13k in today's money. So it has lost around 3.125k. So if you had interest at £45 a year, you would have had £450 worth of interest. So you'd be over a 12k loss in your real-time money if you left your money in the bank. And that's at 20%. It was more at 0.1% interest and savings rates over that time. And it shows you on here as well, that's an inflation rate at 2.75%. Inflation at the moment is at 9.9%. So imagine the damage it's going to do over the next 10 years if it stays at 9.9%. But don't panic. As I said, I'm going to show you a method that you can beat this and show you a real case example. I'll put the link to that calculator in the description below. It's a handy little link if you want to figure these things out. But look, using property to beat inflation is a powerful tool. So if you go on Property Data, this is a great software. Again, in the bottom, I'll give you a link to Property Data. But you can see the average home by this chart around 10 years ago, just under 175k around 10 years ago, 2012. Today, it's just under 300k. So that's a massive drive upwards. I'm going to show you a property that's not even had that average appreciation. It's had lower end of depreciation, and I've still massively beat that by my calculation 450%. But tell me if I got that wrong in a minute. So how did I do that? So take this deal I bought 10 years ago. There's a picture here of this deal I bought 10 years ago. This one, as I said, didn't even have much capital appreciation. I think that's set to change. I think there's a massive wealth shift on where the capital appreciation is going to be, and I believe it's more in the north now. You can watch the video here on the biggest wealth transfer biggest property wealth transfer we had in our generation, and my views around that on that video. So I'm not going to discuss that here. But this property I bought just around about 10 years ago, and look, the deposit was £10,250, so roughly 10k. I needed a few more fees, but this gives you an idea of what 10k could have done for me, what has done for me over the last 10 years. I had about 13k in this deal in total, or just short of 14k in total. They're not exact numbers, but these are rough numbers to give you an idea. They're thereabouts numbers, by the way. Some of them are rounded off. So when I bought this property, I bought it, I refurbed it for £1,700. I've done the BRR strategy on that. I won't go into much depth on BRR because I've done a video on that, but the BRR is basically when you buy a property, you refurbish it and you force the value up. So I bought this property, I've done a £1,700 refurbishment on it. By the way, you can't do that today because of the markets and where we're at with the price of doing refurbs. But I've done £1,700 refurbishment on that property and got it revalued for £60,000. So that meant I had £2,000 back in my pocket. So I had about 13k in the deal, maybe just short of 14k, and roughly 15k back over, just over 15k, and I had about 2k on top. So I got paid 2k to own this property. But it don't stop there as well, and to be fair, I've not even had the 2k into it. So this is the numbers on this and how you'll beat inflation. So over the last 10 years, I've rented this out for £500 a month over the last 10 years. The last 6 or so, maybe 7 years, a social housing provider has been in there, so I've had guaranteed rent. But I've had 60k in rental income over the last 10 years. Voids, I had 2 voids of this. First tenant stayed there for, I think, roughly around 3.5, 4 years. Second tenant was in there a short period of time. And between them voids, I spent on just light tidy up to re-rent it back out. And obviously loss of income on that. It's about 3.5k in loss of income, not getting any rents, re-advertising it, and a light tidy up of the property. Maintenance at 10%. I put that at 10% over the last 10 years because I'm just rounding it up. It's been a lot less. We've had hardly any maintenance on it. It's got a social housing provider in now, and the maintenance is very, very minimal. I do pay the maintenance on this, but it's been very minimal. But it's been no more than £600 a year. That's including your certificates and the stuff like that. But let's say 6k on that. It's been less than that, by the way. I know it has, but I haven't got exact figure on that, so I'd rather round it up. Maintenance on a long term does average out usually less than 10%. My mortgage has been roughly £150 a month. But sometimes it was £80 odd a month. But around about £150 a month. It's been slightly less than that, but again, I'd rather round these numbers up because I've had a few mortgage products on there. And as I said, at some points, the mortgages, when the rates were so low, was ridiculous. It was under £100. But let's say £150 per per month. That's £1,800 I've had, 18k in rent. So when we work this out, if you look at what I've had, look, this is the total rental income I've had. So positive cash flow from the mortgage I've had 34k over the years in positive cash flow. So I've earned 34k in my pocket. That's pre-tax money. I've had false appreciation. I've had 16k's worth of false appreciation. So the uplift value was 16k. Capital appreciation, they're worth probably about 75, maybe even 80k. I think maybe 20k's worth of capital appreciation. So I've uplifted that, pushed up about 20% from the 60k that I've forced the value up from. So I've had that 15k, probably 20k. I know they're worth that because have a look. Here you'll see property just across the road sold last year for 63k in the same sort of condition I bought in, so needed the same sort of amount of work, sold for 63k. And this is not even a high, like this needed quite a bit of work doing to it as well. Mine needed work doing to it at the time, so exactly the same style one sold a year ago, needing work doing to it, slightly less condition than mine, sorry, didn't have as nice of a kitchen and bits like that, and needing work to it, sold for 63k. So they're probably sitting comfortably at about 75k, done up nice. And if you just think about it on real terms with inflation, to buy that property in less condition, this needed a bigger refurb. The one across the road probably needed about 7 to 10k spending on it, when I spent 2k, under 2k on my one. In real time, I'd need 15k just for the deposit to get the same sort of property, to get the same sort of returns. Rents have not gone up with that, by the way. The rent's probably only about 550, and this is what happened in London as well. Prices went up, but the rents didn't follow that, so it squeezed the yield. Still works as a good yield, but not as good as it was 10 years ago. So again, we look at my total, what I've earned from this is 34k, 16 and 15k. I've had 65k in total profits across this, and 34k in my pocket. This is in equity in my net wealth, and this is actually cash flow in my pocket. Cash flow is king. That's what you live off. That is the stuff that pays for your holidays, pays for your extra cost of livings, and pays for everything. But that is also an added bonus because I've got that stuck in equity in my property. So I'm not sure if I'm calculating it right. I put it into this percentage calculator, have a look, and it says 450%. I'm not sure if I'm doing that math right, I can't work it out. But whether or not it's 450% or where, is irrelevant. This is beat that by 65k. You left your money in the bank, you would have had about 16k. So this is beat that by over 60k. That is the bottom line thing you need to understand. And that's not even had a fantastic amount of capital appreciation. The capital appreciation only been in the last 2 years. And even if it didn't have capital appreciation, I still would have, deduct this off it with zero capital appreciation, I still would have beat that money sat in the bank by a long shot. So how do you use property to beat this? Look, not every property is made equal, and we've got interest rates rising. You can watch a video here about interest rates rising, but you've got to buy the right style property. You can't just buy any property that's not protected against the downside, especially with interest rates going up. So you need good style properties like the one I showed you that's got plenty of margin for interest rate rises. Like when I bought that property at 80 odd pound mortgage, if the interest rate doubles and then doubles and doubles again, I've got a lot of margin in now. They're getting harder to find, and the only places you find them is in and around the north really now. Another way you beat this though is finding good properties like that, and then you put them on long-term fixes. Long-term fixes at the moment are actually like better than short-term fixes. We just had a product come through for one of my investors, and look, 2-year fixes, they got offered this product literally 2 days ago from recording this, 5.19% on a 2-year fix with nearly a £2,000 arrangement fee, or 5.69% with no arrangement fee, and that's £255 a month or £271 a month on the product he was going for. I can't remember how much the loan was. It was around 50 odd K. When you look at a 5-year fix, it's 4.99%. So banks actually offering a lower rate on a 5-year fix. That's with a fee of 2K. And with no fees, it's 5.19%. So you're getting a lower amount for longer term fixes. So even the banks are factoring this in, saying it's uncertain over the next 2 years, fixed for long term. So make sure you buy the right assets, fixed for long term, and make sure there's plenty of margin and yield in that. And another thing you can do, like this property here, you can rent to social housing that give you guaranteed rental. I've just rented a house we split into 2 flats to social housing, guaranteed rent. I've rented another property we've got to social housing, 10-year guaranteed rent, maintenance paid for. This gives you stability and guarantee, and no ups and downs with voids, no ups and downs with bills and stuff like that. It just really gives you that downside protection. I talk about this in the all-weather portfolio. I've done a video on this here. This is how you will build wealth going forward world, you've got to make sure you build a good all-weather portfolio. If you want to learn more about building an all-weather portfolio and building wealth, and you want to come on one of my deep dive online workshops, absolutely free, no credit cards needed, the link's below. It's bit.ly/invest remotely. I've got a couple more I'm running over the next few weeks. Make sure you join on to that if you really want to beat inflation. And listen, thank you very much for being here all the way at the end. It really means a lot to me. You're really helping me grow this channel now. But if you don't evolve your ideas, you're never going to live on your own terms. So evolve your ideas, live on your own terms. If you've not done it already, smash that like button. It really helps the algorithms out. Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notified every time we release a video. And have an amazing day, everyone.